set up. Welcome everyone to our morning meeting tonight. Say good morning. Meeting tonight. Appreciate you being here. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. It's 5:33 p.m. We've asked Councilman Riley to give us an opening prayer, and then after following, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. But first, we'll do roll call, and we are missing Councilman Baird. He had a procedure today and won't be able to make it. And I'm hoping Councilman White still comes, so we'll see where we're at there. So, Councilman Riley. Thank you. Okay. First item that we need to take care of tonight are the minutes of the last meeting. Are there any amendments or corrections to those minutes?
I'll move we approve them.
We have a motion by Councilman Roosevelt.
I'll second.
A second by Councilman Allen. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes. We do have our public comment period at this moment. If there are any in the public that would like to make a comment for up to 3 minutes, you're welcome to do so. Please, if you would, come to the podium here and speak into the mic. We used to have mics that would catch all the sound, but if you're not there speaking in the mic, they won't be able to hear you. So, Hal, I saw your hand go up. Come forward.
I'm Hal Hupp. I live on 8 South, the most beautiful street in town, most up-to-date street in town, new utilities, the whole ball of wax. But I'm going to propose to rename 8 South to either Indy Boulevard or NASCAR Drive. That's not my point.
We can do that.
I got a little humor. Anyway, not to step on any toes. When we plow the snow off 8 South, it gets plowed primarily to the south side. That's where the kids walk to school. There's 7 or 8 driveways along there. Those driveways get plowed closed. On the north side, there's no driveways, no houses. So, could we maybe perhaps move that snow to the north side, get a little bit more sun exposure, and I don't have to bug my neighbors to take my driveway out.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's my point.
Hal, you're in luck. We have our Public Works Director here, and he heard every bit of that. So,
Well, I was going to say, I wasn't here to
see
step on
him
any
talking
toes.
about it already.
So, anyway, appreciate you here. Thank you.
Thanks, Hal. Any others want to take opportunity? If you would state your name for whatever you're most comfortable with.
Good evening. My name is Bonnie Eagles, and I have 2 businesses in town, Basin Storage and Roosevelt at the same location. Once again, I come before you to speak about roads. Could somebody bring up the GSI map parcel, the tax parcel? So it's parcel
sorry, what's the,
00-0028-3212.
0? I'm sorry.
Dash 3218. Need a point of reference, it's up at the end.
Know where it's at?
Sure thing.
Nope, not there. Over. Oh, in the middle of the screen. No, not that way, the other way. Yeah, over.
Okay, there we go. With the green. Right there.
Right there.
Sorry. Okay, we got it.
Okay. But you can't see. It's like this big.
Zoom in.
Ew. Okay. I want express. No, that's fine. Express my thanks to the city for putting Rotomill on the road to the north of my businesses. There's Rotomill on the one up above, and it's made a, and this has worked out really great. No more muddy road. And because it's Rotomill and not solid, it's not watertight. So the rain and the snow that melt off absorb into it rather than run off. So it doesn't make any grooves in the road or water runoff places. So my request is on on this side, that road, yes, right there. That road right there doesn't have anything. It's just if you could find any more rotomill to put on that road, I think the same thing would it would accomplish the same thing that the one on the top. It would be less of a muddy road. It would be absorbed more. Um, and I think the results would be the same as the one on the top. And this road is utilized as a shortcut from Highway 40 all the way up to 200 and north of town as a shortcut between them and there. And not just by the general public. I live there, so I mean, I see people go by all the time. Empty school buses, police cars, ambulances, all kinds of people. As that road is now, it has from where the pointer is, right in that area was a few potholes and on the lower half of it, people could do their laundry the old-fashioned way, as it is severely washboarded. Let's see, there's some gravel on it, but when it snows or rains and it freezes, it becomes very icy and slick. And because it's not black, it doesn't defrost very quickly. A couple of years in the past, some of my customers had to park either down in the old vet clinic or at Shady's Diesel. Shady's Diesel wasn't really frequent on that. Although the city does plow that, they only sprinkle the road with dirt. They don't put a lot of dirt there. It doesn't give it quite enough traction for people to make it up the road. So that's my request. If you have any rotor mill laying around just not doing anything. So again, thank you for your time, and I'll see you next month.
Thank you so much. Are there any others that would like to take an opportunity? We have just a few more minutes left if so. We'll move on. Thank you. So before we get into anything else, we have several now we did this, so we have an extra mile day. So that happens normally in post, several go out for nominations for people that would be nominated for this award, the Extra Mile Award. And we got several responses back, and with some really good comments about things that are happening in our community. We know that as a government, we get to deal with certain things and structure and taking care of the needs of the people, but really the sense of community and serving one another comes from within, and so we appreciate all those that serve. I know I've talked to a few, and most people that do good in our community, they don't do it to get recognition. They don't do it to be seen of others, and so this is kind of difficult for them to be here as well, but we appreciate them being here. And if you'll allow me just a few minutes, I would like to read a paragraph of each nominee, and then we'll present them. So our first nominee was Fred Butterfield. I see him sitting right here. Maybe just raise your hand, Fred, so everybody knows who you are. That's not what we're here for, but it's still good for everybody to put a name to a face. So Fred Butterfield has taken our trash can out the last few years. He's even to the point that if the trash is taken while we aren't home, he's returned the bin without any need for recognition or anything. I don't know how many residents are impacted, but it seems everyone around is taken care of by Fred. Fred also goes out of his way to make the people around him feel noticed and cared for. His birthday Facebook posts make my day, even when it's not my birthday, seeing the kind words he shared with someone else. He gives nothing but kindness to others. So, thank you, Fred. Next, we have Laree Hurley. This one says, in late September, I met with Laree at her request about the Chamber's decision to cancel the Halloween parade this year. She shared her desire to not cancel the event, her willingness to lead the planning effort to make it happen. After expressing my support, she made the phone calls and contacts to get the event back on the books, and is working hard to ensure that the parade this year was again a success for the community in Roosevelt. A few years ago, a family in need gave my wife permission to purchase clothes for their children. The kids were taken to Laree's store, We Bit Used. Each kid selected a few outfits. When clothes were taken to the front counter to pay, Laree refused to take payment, stating that one of the primary reasons she started her business was to help others in this way. I believe Laree Hurley goes above and beyond to make a difference in our community. Is she here? She's the only one that I didn't see, but let's give her a round. All right, Clayton and Tasha Miller. Each summer, Clayton Tasha usually grow pumpkins and sell them at their pumpkin patch for their children to earn money for their savings for college, etc. This year, with the COVID-19 pandemic, they chose to use the 1 acre of land community garden to help make sure food was available for the local community, with the world full of uncertainty as to what would be available to us as the pandemic progressed. Although they asked for assistance from the community to help with planting and weeding, etc., the majority of the work was done by their family with watering and overall maintenance of the garden. The proceeds of the garden were given to everyone that could benefit from the produce free of charge, whether or not they helped in the garden. I find it amazing and makes me want to serve others in the community. I wish I were more like amazing people. Thank you. Thus, you're way back in the corner. In March of this year, when all the schools had to go online learning, Mr. Nelson went way beyond his call of principal. He was up early every weekday to make sure he was at the junior high to serve and help with breakfasts and lunches. He was the principal that made sure everyone was organized. Each bus had a driver and a helper, made sure each school had lunches for pickup, and would help fill the lunches. During COVID, if he knew a student couldn't get breakfast, lunch, he would deliver it to them personally. He helped his teachers deliver packets and check with the students. Every teacher here at East Elementary will tell you how much they love working for Mr. Nelson and what a great place it is to work. He loves the faculty, students, aides, custodians, lunch ladies, everyone. He treats each member of his staff with respect. He truly deserves this award. He cares so much for our students and wants them to all succeed. He always puts in 110%. Thank you. Last but not least, Leo? There he is in the back. Leo manages the Thompson House of Hope and is always finding ways for him and the men he works with to donate time to improving the city. He is a ray of light to many who have fallen on darkened times. He helps without judgment and shows love to all. Our city is greatly served by the enthusiasm for improvement Leo lives and shows to others. He is definitely deserving of recognition for all he does to make our community better. And I would say if you haven't been there, if you don't know what he does, find out about it. It's an amazing thing for our community. So thanks, Leo, for all you do. Okay, and I know Lee's not here tonight, but she is going to want a picture. So we'll have you, if Vince, maybe you come up here, and if we'll have those that were nominated, just stand right here, and I'll hand you your awards. The Facebook. Got it. Oh, no, I was kidding. Oh, it's not more than seconds. But we know there's a lot of things going on in our community. Just want to make sure that the positive things are also, highlighted. So thanks, Fred. All right. Let's move on to the next agenda item. We have the Cottonwood Creek Trail project approval. Ryan? Well, and I'll maybe go ahead and come up, and I'll kind of. You want me to give a prelude, or you want to go? Well, I'll just kind of tee it up a little bit. So way back when, and I do remember Jim sent me some stuff from the hospital. So there has always been a desire to do trails throughout the community, and this was an original spot that we looked at to do a pond. This was years ago, probably what, Jim, 3 years ago. So it got, yeah, and it kind of got thwarted because the pond was actually going to go down by L&L, and then that wasn't a great spot. And then this land kind of came available, and so the original plan was to do a trail, connect our trail system through there. That project or that idea kind of stalled, I guess, for a little while. And we had Preston Cadlick approach me, what, a year and a half ago, Preston, approximately, to do a nature park. And he was looking at doing a nature park down in Stonegate. And so what I told, this project had kind of stalled. Preston was wanting to do a nature park, and so I said, hey, why don't you get far enough along in the idea to at least present something to the council so we could approve. And at the time, That nature park was just to be something where it had a little trail system throughout it. I think we had 14 or 15 acres down there that we were going to work with. And it was going to be very low maintenance, very just natural trails, rocks, trees, those types of things, low maintenance. Then we were approached again by the hospital, by Jim, and said, hey, he was pretty confident that he had that land tied up. He said, can we do something? And so Ryan, Preston, all of them kind of got together and decided to move the nature park, if we were going to do that, from Stonegate and do it on this piece of property, which would fit in with our trail system. And we started working on that, just kind of behind the scenes, trying to see what we could come up with. We're kind of far enough along at this point that I felt like it was important that we bring to the council so that we can kind of give blessing to move forward with this. And even though we got to look at some of the costs that are involved, we have a couple other projects that are kind of competing for resources, not directly, hopefully, because this is a unique project. But it is still something that we'll have a little O&M on possibly. There's a few things that we need to look at now that it's this far along and get the council's blessing. I don't think we are to the point where we have any hard numbers, are we, Jim? Or Ryan? Okay. Okay. So, yeah. And
Right, so we've just had some preliminary talks and we put together this concept, basically. And these costs are based off of the concept. So we had roughly 10,000 feet of trail that had been planned. So a couple miles of trail. And then there's also a pond there that's a little over an acre foot of water to be stored with just a little bit of earthwork. And then originally we planned for a pretty big space of grass, but then after our discussion a couple weeks ago, we looked at that a little bit closer and decided to cut back on the grass and do more natural, do some wildflowers, and do some native planting in there that would thrive on less maintenance and would add to a more natural landscape as well. So yeah, but these numbers are pretty close. We're looking at 1.2 million for a project, and that also includes design, getting a landscape architect involved, and a geotech if necessary to look at the soils to see if you can even do a pond with we plan and what you need to do to be able to put a pond in like that. There has been in other places there's been issues with FAA having issue with ponds close to airports, but the FAA signed off on this one saying that we're not in the way of any flight paths, and we're far enough away that it's not an issue to have open bodies of water. So it looks like a very promising thing. If you have any questions on any of the numbers or any of the concepts in this plan, please let me know and I can answer those for you.
So I know one of the things that we were trying to go for grants and things like that to try to get this built. So I think there's two questions that we need to answer, or at least contemplate as a council. That is construction costs, which I think, we'll see what we can get as far as grants. Ryan, how far along are we, and Jim maybe, with, yeah, what is that looking like? those are my two concerns, well, not two concerns, but just think areas that we need to pay attention to is overall cost. And do you know what the available grant funds are? Is it enough, is there enough available to get the 1.3 million possibly?
$200,000 for needles and other offerings. ADA essentially community type of resources that we're considering. I know Dustin's done a little bit of research on the equipment, and one of the vendors is by the map, so it's $50,000, trying to be as creative as possible sometimes.
Well, and the property itself, the value of the property itself is a match, can be matched.
Not for the outdoor recreation. Others it would be considered match.
And one of the things that comes to mind too, like with the CID grants that we get, public hearings, we need to have public hearings and show the community support and things like that. Is that something that would be, I mean, with those types of grants, is that something they look at as
Far as types of things would not be.
okay?
Sorry.
And then, is there an idea, Dustin? I know you had mentioned that it was mentioned that some of the green area was reduced, you know, the lawns and things like that. So with that, what are you guessing? Do we have kind of a guess as far as what the O&M would be on
Yeah,
that?
I was trying to compare it to the other parcel. So we're looking at, so for instance, in that, it's about 500. Definitely with the extra acreage, definitely spending.
Okay.
For just the green part, just for the grass.
Right. And that's fertilizer and all that?
Fertilizer,
Okay.
insecticide, herbicide, bluegrass seed, someone, stuff like that.
So that's not a large expense. And then the other thing is we already have water, so that property will come with how many shares of water?
So right now it's land donation, we can discuss water down the road, if we get it from you guys, like the, you know, that's not at this point, selling the property.
Because I would say, because obviously if we do some of the nature scape that we're going to do, it's not going to require as much water as if we can take care of lush lawn. And so, yeah, as long as we work that out, I think that's good. So I don't think tonight, you know, we can make a decision on numbers because they're not, I don't think they're hard enough. And until we actually see what we can get as far as grants and things like that, but wanted to, you know, make sure that the council knew what was being worked on and get their blessing moving forward, at least take it to the next step and see what we can do with grants. Yes, Jim?
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. Jim Marshall, President of Uinta Basin Healthcare. This has been a great project for us. As you look at what we're working on here, I think something that's important to look at, could you go back to the map layout? So back in 2019, Ryan Snow, he was a city manager here, he actually approached the hospital and said, hey, he'd been working with Bob West on a letter of intent to try to purchase this property for the purpose of this being the kind of the first leg of the city walking path. I know you guys have tried to do something, I think, from Strata down to the high school, ran into some challenges there, and so he approached us and said, hey, with the hospital, instead of the city purchasing this property, would the hospital consider purchasing the property and making a donation to the city, specifically for this purpose of this being that first leg of the walking path as well as this park. So we talked to the hospital board of directors, they agreed. It also meets the mission of our organization, which is, part of our goal is to help reduce obesity and diabetes and a lot of other health illnesses in the community, and so this really matches well. If you look at this and go into the Zoom, do zoom in on the first map there, please. Hot box. we'll show you guys this. Now, like we mentioned, this is an older design. We've actually made some changes to it. But a couple of key points I think that are really important to recognize. Part of this project is that we are really pushing to get an ADA playground here. We do not have an ADA accessible playground in the entire Uinta Basin. Because of that, we believe that there's some opportunity to be able to get some additional grant funds to be able to help fund that. And we're really looking for this to be an all abilities playground so that you can have kids with disabilities and, or not, just all play together, which I think is really important. And the hospital really wants to support that. And we've got a lot of both state and federal support for this. Ryan, I'm not sure if we've got a list of all the agencies we've pulled in, but we pulled in the DNR, we pulled in Trout Unlimited, we pulled in, I can't remember all the different groups. We've got a pretty long list of those that are involved in this and that can help with the grant applications and funding. So we've got a lot of support, so I think we've really got a good plan, and we'll work to try to get the plan dialed in a little bit better. We've also pulled in a group of individuals, community members, that have been working on helping us to define the park. And so we pulled in different family members that have helped us to kind of define that scope for this all-abilities park. So I think it's a really great project, and we're really working hard to move this forward and move the needle. Our goal is we want this to be the first step in that community walking path, and if we can get a home run here, do it really well, we think we can hopefully continue that around the rest of the community. Other questions? Anybody have any questions on that?
I have a few questions. I'm just, Dustin, would we have trail maintenance, garbage, lighting, restrooms? Is that other things that we would have to include in operations? And was that included in your cost estimate though? No, just for the grass, right? And would we need lighting on the trail if people are using it? Is that, I assume that, I looked at it, but I couldn't, I'm sure it was probably there on lighting.
This cost estimate, we didn't include lighting, but that's
Okay.
something that.
And the restroom, was that?
Yeah, we put in there basically a pavilion restroom combination.
Okay.
So,
I just didn't see those. And then also, I assume garbage wasn't included, or like cleaning the, just monitoring the trails. We'd have to have someone kind of go through and check. I assume you'd have to have garbage cans dumped periodically, and so that would be an added cost. And then I noticed the pond, it said fishing pond, or is that something we'd have to stock? And would that be a cost? I'm just curious what the cost of the city. I'm not trying to say no. I just want to know what the.
That's one of those partnerships we've discussed, and we've got I believe some letters of intent coming in from, which agency was it? No, Trout Unlimited, they've expressed interest in participating, and then which was the other governmental agency? It was DNR that had committed that there should be a letter of intent coming that we'll be able to show you, what their commitment could be to help with that.
And would there be any, I assume we'd have a cost involved with cleaning or keeping the pond clean, with debris and things as well? So, just want to make sure I know all the, we understand you do something like this, which I think is awesome, but there's probably other costs that may not have been thought about that we need to make sure we just put into the budget or whatever is all. Those were the things I thought of as I was just doing a perusal. That's awesome. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that, but I think I just think those are things we need to be aware of going in, that there's probably other things besides just the grass to take care of that and I don't know if that's going to require Dustin to have an extra person. It might just be over that, or, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. And I would agree. I think that's one thing. If we're going to do this for the community, I would think the community should be involved wherever we can have them be involved. I think take pride and ownership in it, which is what I would like to see, but I think there's gonna be stuff we may as a city have to take on regardless, or even just oversee those things, you know, to make sure it's done correctly, so. But I appreciate you mentioning that, and I do agree. I think I'd love to get as many groups involved with it. The more we, like, I love the partnership with the hospital, and the more we get involved, I think the more the community will take ownership of it, which is what we want.
I think we do that too through, we'd almost have to do that through contracts. And the other thing I'm thinking is it's good to talk about, you know, the groups coming and helping and all of those things, which I hope they do. But we also have to plan on if they don't. Because ultimately, I mean, if we assume that responsibility is Roosevelt City and then they don't, then we get caught holding the bag.
Right.
And so we need to make sure that we can fund that and do that independent of those groups. And if they come, bonus. And if they
Right.
don't, then we already know what we've tackled and what we've taken on. So I feel like that's got to be a consideration. Kurt, how does that, you know, looking at the budget, those types of things,
That O&M is obviously. I just think that is. I'm concerned, Scott's. So.
yes.
And ADA program, is the pond going to be accessible to people with disabilities, workers, and stuff
I would
like that?
imagine
So
And, so that they don't fall in the bond, and is that it?
Yeah, so we just recently helped, put together one of these ponds in Vernal, and it has a lot of ADA accessible docks, essentially, they go out so that anybody can cast off of those, or fish off of those. And yeah, that, we looked at the costs for that, we put together the cost for myself.
you know, and I talked to Jim a little bit today, just and you know, throwing some things out there, running through some ideas. Have we approached the county as far as a partner goes on this yet? Have we talked to them at all? I'm just wondering if they'd be willing to participate a little bit, and that would help with the O&M even, you know. You know, we're talking to Jim, I know Roosevelt's tackled quite a bit recreation-wise and things for our community and the surrounding communities. That's a good and a bad. The good is we have things that we do. The bad is, unfortunately, the 7,000 residents of Roosevelt City is subsidizing that for everyone around. And so if we could get the county involved, I wonder if we'll have a county council meeting on Tuesday. Really? I'm just curious if they would be willing to at all, you know, enter into some type of agreement with us, with the, not only with us, but the hospital, you know, those groups that we're talking about. They would be one that would be able to help distribute some of that cost throughout the county versus just our residents. So I think that would probably be an avenue that we want to pursue as well. And see what kind of response. Any other thoughts? Yes.
Basically, the first time started, we have opportunities that we wouldn't have at level of level. So we talked about future maintenance, that we needed that accelerated development. Besides that, the regulation that there is grant stuff for updating maintenance. So that would be, we think that, we need about this grant, that would give you a availability to grant, so you wouldn't have. And so you can get that stuff. Then we have to consider, I've been on the next page, we have a lot more price options. Something is really expensive. And what we're doing here is different things that we know south side is behind, people doing dealerships and stuff. The street. The rest is not actually. But, different things, but, usually see the other family.
I don't disagree with that at all. I agree with that 100%. I think what we have to, and that's why I think it's so important that we get, if we can get some of the other partners, UNA County, for example, or UNA County would be fantastic. But even Duchesne County would be good. So, but if we can get some people, so what? Just thinking it through and seeing where we're at with the project, my initial reaction would be to move forward with the planning, but see how many of those relationships and contracts that we can get in place for this, and just see how much of that we can tie together. The grants that you're talking about for the ongoing O&M for trail systems and everything else, how do we secure that and make sure that is that's a done deal, and instead of just like, it's a good idea and it's a good thought, but can we land that? Can we get that grant and start pulling all those resources together into a package deal that then, because ultimately it will have to come before the council when we start talking dollars, like how much we're going to spend when we get the O&M figured out. And so I don't know how the council feels, but I say we push forward with the idea at least to get it to that point, and then come for a decision when it comes to the area. I don't know how.
Personally, I'm supportive, but I'd like to first see what we have in terms of, like I said, grants and partnerships before we make a decision. At least personally, if you need council approval, like I said, I'm very supportive, but I'm just a little hesitant without knowing what we have for grants and those types of things moving forward. Just that's my.
Well, my thought is if you try to package this thing with all those individual grants, you're probably trying to herd cats before we get to the approval process. But what I would recommend is that we approve moving forward. We approve doing this, and then as the funding for the pond, we break it up into pond, stream restoration, trails, park, and playground and parking lot. And so each of those components, go ahead and say we're going to do the park. Let's start. The trails are probably the least cost prohibitive, and then stream restoration for that. Then when you find the state South Association or whatever for the pond, bring that to us. We rubber stamp the pond, get it started. Instead of doing it as a process that's going to have all these pieces that have to be approved, all this one fell through, now we can't do the whole project. That's what I would recommend. Like Don, I fully support it. I think we need to move forward with the momentum we've got right now.
May,
Any other, yeah, I figured you might have a comment.
I think with the grants, proceed with
Yeah.
so may be available.
The only thing that concerns me, to be honest, we have our budgetary meetings at least monthly. And looking at the budget, I know we are also having to talk about budget for other things that I feel are priorities in our city as well. With our police department and some of the other amenities that we provide. And so it concerns me a little bit to say, yeah, let's do the project, because we're on the hook for that 1.2 million unless we can get grants. That to me, that puts us in a really tough situation, because if those grants don't come through, we get it. That's 1.2 million out of our savings, our general budget. It's going to impact us heavily. I don't know. You could tell us how heavily.
To a point where believe the city can go for this project, you know, council, please go ahead, apply for the grant, and see what we can find.
And part of the reason I wanted to come before the council is we have three projects in the work right now. We have our baseball fields that we've kind of already tackled, or are tackling, so that's gonna be one that we're going to be spending some money on, and that's gonna be, we've already sold the property, the library's gonna be going in, and that's one that was kind of, but Jim's right, this one was kind of a pre-approval, you know, this was the discussion they had. The trails on there, were a lot less, but I don't know how toxic those trails are gonna be. But, and then we have the gun range, and I don't think the gun range will impact our budget, and the O and M on the gun range is gonna be minimal. We do have people that are invested in that so we have those other two projects just to think about. Again, the gun range, I think, is a non-issue, because I think it's gonna be built without taxpayer funds, and I think the O and M, we already have some pretty strong partners in that. It won't impact this. Ball fields, that's one that we've kind of tackled, that we're gonna have to build a couple. We might not build all four, but probably need a couple of places that are going out. And so that's gonna be competing. Now, the good thing is the funds that the baseball fields will come from are not the same funds that we can get for major park. We're gonna have a liability in those baseball fields that will come out of our district to a degree. We have $375,000 that we got from the purchase of the land. We're gonna go to CIB and see how much we can get for grant funding and those types of things. But, so just some things to consider. I know, Jim, you had a comment too.
And I guess my comment would be, you know, as we've discussed this in our planning meetings, we understand this is it's a big project, especially when you start looking at 11,000 feet trails. So as we've discussed it, it's been really more kind of broken down into phases potentially. And that's maybe how the city could approach it, is to say, you know, we approve, move forward to the project to be completed upon receipt of grants, completed in phases or something like that, because that's probably what will happen, is we'll be able to complete a big chunk of it. The next year we'll apply for more money to complete the next phase of the trail program and stuff like that. And so that's kind of how we anticipate this going. We're hoping to complete the main portion, the main 14 acres if possible. But if the city can approve moving forward the project based on receipts of grants and funding, I think that's really looking forward. The biggest thing is probably just the support from the city, I believe, as we submit this grant. We want to know that the city supports it. If we're going to get grants to do it, we don't want the city down the road to say, oh, just kidding, let's get the money back. We want to be able to move forward. So we want you to be vested enough in the process that you can support us going ahead, but we'll only build what we have grant funds to complete. That's our intention.
And you make a good point, and one of the things that, again, I'm not as concerned about getting it built, because if we can get it built with grant funds and things like that, it happens. If we're fully vested in that. Really what it comes down to is having that known, okay, the city's gonna participate this way, and then, you know, if we're gonna be on the hook for the O and M, moving forward and those types of things, any partners we can get, but we still need to look at what are those costs going to be. I think those are the more important things, because I think we can do the contingency and say, if we can get the funding to do the project, let's go ahead with it, and if we can get the grants and things. But I think where we're on the hook for the most part would be, once it's ours, then we'll be, you know, responsible for the O and M. And I think that's probably the question we need to ask or answer tonight, because really the project probably won't move forward. We know it's not going to move forward unless we get the grants, because we don't have the capital to be able to do that.
You need the support though from the council for the grants.
Yeah. I don't see that it hurts anything to move forward with at least doing the grants. how sure are we of the long-term O&M impacts? I mean, if it's not gonna impact us, so who will organize, like with the dedicated hunters and things like that, do the trails and everything? So she will coordinate that for us. If we just call her and say, hey, each spring we need our trails trimmed, trimmed, whatever, getting spiffy for the summer season, she'll take care of that. So is this a project that the city wants to keep that ball moving forward with? I personally think it's a great project. I am a little bit concerned with the ongoing the more things that we can put in place and contracts, and that's still the unknown. So we have a little work, but I'm probably moving forward to the next step, grant funding and those types of things, knowing that really the city can't be on the hook for a lot of expenditures in building it, but we'll participate every way we can in getting grants. We'll use our staff to assist and do whatever we can. And then, when it comes to the O&M, if we're going to be doing that, and the more sure relationships that we could have. I don't know how to manage it, but I feel good enough moving forward at least. I think it's a good project, and it will start our trail system.
Yeah, I'm in favor of continued research, support, trying to get money. It looks awesome.
Yeah, I'd make a motion that we continue to,
Seek funding and
seek funding and grant support to the project. I mean, when I look at it, I see a bunch of trails that Boy Scouts aren't stuff anymore, but young men or young women's organizations help maintain once a year. Fishing pond that it sounds like it's going to get help from the state that's, working innovation, needed playground equipment to maintain. Take a couple of permanent signs up for some local business. I just can't see community not coming together to fund O&M project like this.
Jim said, if we need to dial it back a little bit, say we build 3/4 of a mile of trail to start with, and then we build the rest, at a future time. But we have that, just know where they'll go. If we can even take it. We've got to get something going on this at some point. It's to get the trails from behind the golf course and then to the southeast, strata all the way down Cottonwood Creek to like 1080 or even 100 south and across there. So that's our goal. So do we have a motion? Do we have a motion?
I would wonder if we could add a,
Well, you can make a second motion.
I agree with, other than I would like to add that I would like to build this, we have the funds.
Do it in phases.
Instead of trying to do it all, just that we build this, we have the funds for those parts, so we build the phases and got the funds for that, which wasn't said, Vince, it's the same thing, and I think that's what Vince was saying, he just.
So we have an amended motion similar to yours.
I'll second it.
Okay. So we have a second to the motion as amended, which means we'll build it and we have
Roosevelt's
funds.
is supportive of that, and would like to start building on the park as funds are available for grants and other.
That's good. Everybody in favor?
Lee'll figure it out.
So Mark made the motion. Councilman Riley seconded, yes, Grant.
Okay,
And it's at the hospital, would be transferring ownership to the city eventually. If it's built in phases, it could then discuss how that can be.
That's a good question. Hasn't been discussed in specific details exactly how that'll happen. We're preparing a letter of intent that'll come to the city. As part of this grant application, will express some of those details, we'll clarify some of that. Are you the attorney for the city? So I can maybe sit down with you and just go through with our legal counsel what we have prepared and just make sure that meets what you see.
I wonder if they can get a hold off the people and not put off and, yeah, I think that's what they need. Well, I think that's what I work for.
Grant, would it be okay if we just made the motion that we're supportive of the city looking for grants for this and working with the hospital for the transition? If we
We'll continue giving permission.
Because I would still like to give our support so that that Ryan, whoever's going for grants, knows that we're supportive, but the legal and all the other stuff maybe needs to be addressed before we,
Explore.
I'll rescind my motion. New motion.
Okay.
That the city is supportive of the new park concept and working with the hospital to take care of all the legal issues in terms of turning the land over and those types of things, and that we discuss it next month for maybe a vote if we have more information.
Have a motion? This supersedes the other motion that was approved, so.
Does that give enough to be able to keep funding?
Yes.
Okay, I second it.
Do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So that second was Vince Riley. I know she's listening, so. Okay. Next item. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate you. Cell tower present, you know what? Is Deborah here?
We set up a Zoom meeting, and I've never seen.
Okay, let's skip that one because we've got to get to some pretty important ones that I want the public to be here for and Don to be here for, because as soon as he leaves,
We don't have a
we don't have a
council.
quorum. So let's get to the most important things first. We have K&K with us. I know you're here probably just representing, but we did look at their contract again. Scott, would you kind of explain what and why? Because we just redid their contract not very long ago, but there are a couple of things that Scott found that he'd like to
Yeah, absolutely. So we reached out to K&K. We had a meeting last week, and we're looking at the contract. It's due in December. I don't like to procrastinate, so we sat down earlier to try to see if we could nail out a contract. And after speaking to the we felt the best is work out or renegotiate the terms with K&K. After looking at the contract, I feel it is actually a pretty good contract, and ask that they carry on that contract. Only changes that I asked them to do is the way we do customer service. After speaking with Randy, the treasurer, about 25 to 30% of his time was spent dealing with K&K garbage can management, which was a lot of time to be spent. K&K has agreed to go ahead and take the customer service role for us. So instead of us doing the customer service, they will be going directly to K&K. The only thing the city will be doing is billing from here on out. So they will go to K&K, they'll say, we need these cans, K&K will then send us over documents saying we can add this to the bill. So it's really making it more efficient and moving forward. And so all the same terms will be the same. It'll be $17.50 moving forward. Same terms, everything else applies except for the customer service. So I would ask the mayor and council.
There was only one other change, and I think it's a positive one. helps with, stability for the kettles as well, and that is the extending the length of the contract from a 2-year contract to a 5-year contract.
So basically how that contract's gonna work is, once it's signed, they'll do the remainder of this year, and then starting July 1, they'll have a 5-year contract from July 1. So I believe that's how the contract's gonna.
And that way the contract comes due around the budget cycle versus in the middle of the year. Any questions or concerns with that? And Mark, you're okay with that contract?
Yeah,
Yeah, so what he's talking about is so the current administration up the upper level say they have a $50 minimum wage fee come in. We're gonna have to go back and look at the contracts as all the contracts. That's just gonna be standard. It's something every contract's gonna have to be negotiated if that happens. So.
Is there anything in there if their costs go up besides that, if they need to?
So it's always, I mean, you have fuel costs and all those other times. It's in the best interest that both stakeholders work together on the contracts. You know what I mean?
If there's an option, is what I'm saying. For them
Yes, there is always that option to renegotiate and come back if circumstances or environment changes.
Move we approve the contract, unless there's another question.
Are there any other questions?
Second.
Second by Councilman Allen, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes. We're gonna bump yours real quick. Yes, Mike? Is it a 1 acre surface area? Or is it 1 acre?
It's about 1.5 acre feet of water. The surface was, from one point to another, about 120 feet wide, and then it's a little bit longer than that.
It's not. For that. So, how quickly can we do the Cedar View water line upgrade? Let's do that next. I hate to go into closed session. We're gonna have a closed session tonight, personnel and a few things. I hate to do that until the very end because everybody leaves and then I don't want to be sitting here talking about other things without the public. It's part of our transparency.
So if you remember back in August, I approached you guys with this upgrade, you remember? A lot has changed since August, since we know with the prices of pipe and whatnot. So Cedar View finally got their bids in and they awarded it to Brotherson. And with the bids coming in, the 90 grand wasn't enough for the upgrade. And we kind of expected that too. With 6 months later, here we are, and COVID has affected prices with certain things. Well, the pipe went up. So what we're asking is for an additional, Kurt, do you just want me to round this up? Because it's $25,291.45. Should I just say 30 just in case, or how do you want me to?
An additional,
Yeah,
What was the amount again?
it's gonna be an additional 25,000 above the 90.
300 and what? 25 what?
Did I say 3 something?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. It would be, the total cost of it is 115,291.
Okay, so 25,000.
But you've already approved 90,000.
Let's say we go at least 25 to 90.
So I was trying to say, let's go to 30,000.
that
Well, they've already approved 90.
Yeah, so,
So adding 30 up to.
We have that in capital for the water?
We have it in water.
One of the things, I don't know, we gotta be a little bit careful with is when we say what we're going to pay, then sometimes that's will inflate directly exactly that we're doing. Does that make sense? That never happens, but. So, I would say, we'll say we stick to that 25, and then if they need more, they can come back.
That's fine.
Let's do it anyway.
Well, they're gonna, we're probably gonna see an invoice this week. I'm sure, at least some.
115,291, is that?
Or close to that. I wouldn't go 5,000 over is all I say. Maybe round up to the next 1,000. Yeah.
So 26,000.
And then just because if they charge us any more, then you have to tell them, like, we are only approved for this, and we have to go to our council to get approval to go anything above that. So then that's going to make them say, and now we're saying it's all out in public meetings. But anyway, it's a lot more difficult process for them
Okay.
to charge us anymore.
I'm fine with this going to 25. I'm fine throwing out the exact number, and then that's, because they've already sent us stuff, so.
It's just my thought, and I don't get to vote. It's just a thought. So, entertain a motion.
I'll move to, I would rather just do the 26th and call it good. I agree, I don't think we need to do the 30, but let's do, so 100, up to the
116.
116 total, but the extra 26 that's needed to cover it, let's get her done. I'll move for that.
And do we have the money?
We do, yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes.
So we have a motion by Councilman Newspark. Second by Councilman Riley. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Do you want to do the road projects real quick? Or do you mind, how much longer do you have? Those are things we don't have to have motions on, are they? Are they just enough?
I have an hour, Mayor, I have an hour before I have to leave, so,
Ready?
That's all.
yeah, you're fine. I got an hour.
Great. You guys probably had in your packets,
If you'll come, more of them.
oh, okay. So, we'll, let me look here, to start with. I'll talk about it a little bit first of, so we put together a 5-year list of street projects. And these street projects will include secondary water, culinary water lines, sewer lines, curb and gutter, sidewalk, it'll include all of that, and it'll be determined on a street-to-street basis. Some may need all of these, some may need just a couple of things, or just, repairs on the sidewalk, curb and gutter that's existing. So, I'm just here to discuss with you this year's list and estimated cost. There's a map, Kurt, go to the map. So, that map, and it'll be proposed streets, this map is the proposed streets for this year. And there's a list with the map of the estimated cost and the surface summary and a probable cost of the streets, along with the 5-year list of the streets. So we're looking to put out some RFQs in the next 30 days, right? Kurt?
Yes.
And then those are the streets right there listed. And that is the cost of the streets, but that does not include, I've got a probable cost, yep, there for the $825,000, but that is your contingency and engineering all together.
Let's see, 768.
Right, 768, 775. Did you get another one? This one I've got says 775, and that's without the design and construction engineering. So.
And I know we would normally approve these projects around that? Is this just making sure that you want us to be okay with the roads that we're planning on here? Is that what it's?
Yeah, that and in the past, couple of years, I've there's different applications for different streets, and the more extensive applications is these. We've been putting off some of these, we've been chip sealing more than, a slurry seal and chip seal is least expensive. Then you get into the fill and fill and the reconstruction, which is more expensive, which would include your utilities. So that's where we're at now. And I kind of went through that 5-year list, and these are, say, your low-hanging fruit that are really bad streets that need to be addressed. And these are all mill and fill. There's no chip in these. They're past that. So,
Is this all part of our plan or in our,
yes, and everything was looked at in our master plan as far as your secondary water line. Even if there's not a main line to feed this, you need to have it put in and stubbed out for future when it does come through. We're not tearing that road up.
is there any other projects in the area where we're like trying to match with them, that they're trying to do stuff like?
Yeah, that's something that once you get the okay to keep going forward, we get with other utility companies. Once a year I meet with them, and then I let them know what we're looking at doing, and if they have anything on that street, we can get together and do it, around the same time, so they know what's coming down.
So you do that ahead of time then?
Yes.
Awesome.
Does this include that 8 by the cemetery, all of that we were talking about?
No, this doesn't.
This is just the 1 year, right?
Yep.
Any other questions from the council? We have a motion to approve the list that Alderman approved. We have a motion by Claudia to approve the streets that have been presented.
Can you look at a map again real quick? And show me the roads.
One's in yellow,
Yeah, they're the ones in yellow. It's quite kind of hard to see. It's,
So I can see, so we're looking at,
And then there's one to the left.
and that one down in the south is the one that
150
we were straightening?
east.
Is
Yeah,
that- Okay.
that's going going to 8 south from Highway 50.
Ooh. Yeah, I second.
Which one's going to,
That one,
I didn't see that one
that
highlighted.
one behind Stewart's.
Yeah, it's one behind Stewart's at 150, going from Highway 40 to 8 south.
The only question I had, and I didn't see it on here,
Okay.
was State Street itself. Now, we did have a project in play that was going to go from 8 South north State Street up to the Dip City building.
Yep, that's the project that Civco's working with us on. It's a
Okay.
different funding.
But that will
Correct.
be also done in the coming year?
No, it's,
Okay, that's right. Okay.
right,
Knew it. The only reason I ask is I've had people hounding me. So,
right, okay.
I'm not gonna let that one go. Okay, so we do have a motion.
And you had a second from Jim.
Okay, we have a second from Vince. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thanks, Kirby. Let's go ahead and let's do just the January crime statistics real quick. If our chief's here and ready, our current chief is here and ready. And then we'll go right to the other one. Everything else is kind of, if you want to stick around for it, great. And if that's okay.
We'll just kind of go quick on this. Did you guys get this in your packet?
Yeah.
The way I did it this time is I did the first January on there is going to be January 2021. And I put December next to it.
Sorry.
Right, you got 3 copies, you're good now.
Okay. The December, so you can compare this January from the month before to December. But then I also put last year's January next to that. So the first 3 columns, you'll be able to do year-to-year comparison and then month-to-month comparison.
It's weird it won't pull it up.
There it is, sorry.
Okay.
I should have made the January, so the first January on the list right there, that's 2021. And the December is December 2020, but then the next January, January 2020. So you'll be able to compare from month to month, and then also January to last year.
I did appreciate that, the compare.
And then you've got the rest of them. I thought I'd just go over a couple of them that had some pretty big changes. The amphetamine possess, it went up to 11 from 5. Disorderly conduct went up 10 from 6. Domestic violence went down. It's 4 now, it was 7 last month. Fraud was up 6, up from 3. Marijuana possession was 9 from 6. Protective order violations was down. It was 9 last in December, and it's 4 for January. The sex assaults went up from 2 to 7. Theft went down though, so we had 12 in December and we had 8 in January. Trespassing went up 9 from 2. I don't know what's going on there. Vehicle theft, we had 0 in December, but we had, or January, but we had 4 last December. Warrants was up. Arrests on warrants, we went to 10, we had 6, and then weapons offenses went down 4 from 2. As far as calls for service, we had 987, which is pretty, I mean, that's pretty much our average, 950 to 1,050. Traffic citations was 38 compared to 29. Traffic warnings, 176 from 185. We had fix-it tickets. We had 4 in January, 2 in December. And accidents were way up. January had 17 and December only had 6.
It's all your amphetamine users out there on the streets.
Yeah. We've got the task force and stuff.
Yeah.
They're doing it. Any questions on it?
Thank you, Alan, for
Thank
coming
you.
in. Appreciate that, presenting that to us. Okay. We have the police chief contract approval, but before we approve that, there are some things that we need to discuss having to do with personnel and those types of things. Before we can make that decision public. And once we discuss those, then we, and if we agree, then we can make the decision public, but it's not fair. So, decision.
I was moved that we go to closed session to talk about personnel issues and then come back from closed session. Is that what you needed?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Do we have a second on that?
Second.
A second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we'll move into closed session, then we'll come back out and we'll